as far as I can remember, we met the first time on an elevator in the Marriott McKee Hotel, 1991, and you gave me a white copy of the Fuse records.
91, I would have given you probably Fuse FU, or
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Probe #1. New Music Seminar was like the place everybody came to talk about new music. And
In July.
yeah.
Hot New York City. No, but that was the start. And then I invited Richie and his whole label, the whole team, +8 record for my birthday party.
Yeah, so if we met then in July, that was in November, the same year.
It was same year.
So like 4 or 5 months later, I had the pleasure of going and seeing what this crazy nut was getting up to in Frankfurt.
I was running my club, The Omen, and I fell in love with the Detroit music already in the 80s, but with Richie's, what he did on +8, we were hardcore fans in Frankfurt. I think that when I offered you then the residency at the Omen Club, and you came quite often.
Yeah. The club in Frankfurt, the Omen, was legendary outside of Frankfurt, outside of Germany, and it was, we were doing crazy parties in Detroit, and well, we thought we were, but what was going on there was really, it was pure, it was long, it was going until 11 or 12, in the morning. Things didn't really get started until 5 or 6, and I remember even when I was playing there, I'd play 2 or 3 hours, and it wasn't until hour 5 that everything started to gel together, and it got sweaty, and the people started getting even more loose. It was really something special. The techno scene was very small anyway then, and so when you met like-minded, people, friends who had the same kind of vibration, the same spirit, you tried to find ways to bring each other together. So I was, also around 93, 94, I came to Omni for New Year's Eve in Frankfurt. For me, that was probably a real special point, because I met even more of Sven's friends, and and became maybe one step closer to that group. That was I remember that, because it was a big party. Everybody was hanging on stage. New Year's has a special feeling, and each step of the way it's been like that. Meeting friends, having shared friends, playing together, hanging out together, eating together, going on vacations together. It just organically grew because we like to hang out together. The first thing that got us together was music, and enjoying the music that we were making, or the music, how we performed, and how I think completely, when we're into something, we're both into it. And that's the thing that always brings us back.
I was 16. There was no roof. There was a Spanish finca with an outdoor, nice decorated space with a nice fountain in the middle, like a glass pyramid. And when I came there first time, as I said before, I was really touched by the magic of the people there and the music. I mean, there were guys sitting in the corner playing the bongos. Girls were dancing half naked. People were smoking joints. There was Grace Jones on the dance floor, Duran Duran, and me, little Sven, was standing there, coming from the countryside. Oh, that was an experience. And Alfredo, the DJ, that time, he was playing a very eclectic mix of music, from African percussion to psychedelic rock to Italo disco, and some experimental stuff in the morning. That was for me like, wow, that was the first time Amnesia. It has nothing to do with the Amnesia of today.
Yeah, my first experience at Amnesia was closer to what it is today, because it's that building, but it was with Sven and the Cocoon parties. And for me, Amnesia, it was tropical and it was sexy. You know, there was like good-looking girls like dancing here and there. There was like people on podiums, and it was hedonistic. It was positive. It was quite different than everything else I was doing at that point. You know, I'd grown up playing in Detroit and playing pretty heavy techno music. A lot of that was in dark warehouses. You know, if you'd come to one of my parties I was doing, it was like a strobe light and black plastic and massive speakers. And now I was in the middle of, you know, Amnesia, which was, you know, brighter lights and color and dancers up here and, you know, Sven doing crazy stuff up there. It was like, wow, what is this? Amnesia specifically as a club, I don't know, there's some hypnotic thing that happens when you're playing the right music on those dance floors, especially, and it switched over the years, like now the Terrace, but in the early days it was the main room, which was the main room. So that also oscillates back and forth, but people are dancing, people are losing themselves. There's this hedonistic, there's a freedom, and people get lost in the dance. And I think and we love getting lost in the dance. We love allowing people to get lost in the dance.
Ibiza was my first love. When I came here when I was 16 years old, I fell in love with the island and with the spirit, the music, the open air clubs. I was like, baff! I was really fascinated, and it was touching me very strong. And I think it was also giving me a direction for my life. And so I came every year. I came back to Ibiza in the 80s. I did all the parties in the 80s, and especially the opening parties in Amnesia, and which was my very first club I visited in Ibiza. And yeah, and then when I had this idea with Cocoon and with the idea of metamorphosis about my life, what is constantly changing, and that I was always very motivated to try new things out, pioneering. And then I came to the point that I said, I want to give something back to Ibiza, because that was for me the beginning. And then in the year of 1999, I decided to start my own event series here at Amnesia on a Monday. And I was not thinking about it, you know. It's just they said, we only have Monday. It's the only night which is not happening here, which is actually closed. And I said, I take the Monday. And yeah, and then the rest is history. I don't know, but it was a hard work, I have to say, but I didn't care. I said, I'm not going in any competition here on the island with Cocoon, because we did something new. We played techno. So, and it was like the beginning. And of course, I invited from the beginning also my best friend Richie. I said, Richie, come on. And Richie like, what, Ibiza? I'm not sure. Ibiza?
I had a completely opposite experience coming to Ibiza the first time in the mid-90s. And I had a terrible party. You know, everything that could go wrong. You know, I was staying at a promoter's house. It was like dirty bed sheets. It was hot. Nobody picked me up at the airport. Nobody seemed to like what I was playing when I was actually DJing, and I left the island saying, I'm never coming back. And you know, Sven is definitely 100% the one who was really like, yes, you're coming. You know, and from the moment I returned to the island with Sven and Cocoon, it was a completely different experience. It was also, it was such a small thing. There was no techno on the island. And so you'd see Sven and I, whoever wasn't DJing, would be usually on the dance floor or climbing around or doing something. And everybody just had the best energy, because we all, you know, it was exactly what we wanted to be doing. And I think that's you know, something similar, what ties us together. If we're into something, if we're on a mission, then we're on it. And I think both of us have great teams around us who help us fulfill that mission and feel that's their mission too. And so when all of our gangs come together, it's a pretty, usually some kind of explosion is going to happen in the most positive way.
Yes. There were so many. Maybe the one tonight.
Yeah, I remember taking one of Sven's vocals from Mind Games and like doing some kind of weird loop, or I re-edited it or something. And when I was playing that, I looked over and Sven was climbing from the dance floor up onto the balcony or dropping down or doing. So I don't exactly which party that was, but somehow those are the kind of memories that are like somewhere in there.
I mean, the idea was, we knew that many people came on the island to enjoying Cocoon on a Monday night, and I knew that people stayed for a week or so, and we thought in the morning 7 o'clock it's just not enough, yeah? And we said we have to organize ourselves a little bit because we have more to give. Yeah? And that was the idea. So we were visiting little beach. There were no clubs, like just beach chiringuitos, and we were asking the owner if it's possible when 50 people come here. We set up a little sound system, and yeah, no problem, do it. And so this is still how it started actually, and it was very, very private actually. It was very intimate, and just friends. No one knew that this is going to happen. Some people in the club, we said, hey, listen, if you want, come. We carry on dancing. And that's what we did. And then it was going from year to year. People were talking about it. I remember one situation, I don't know when it was exactly. We were at Sestanyol, and suddenly there were almost 3,000 people. The police blocked the road, and it was always, almost a little bit, I felt a little bit scary that maybe when something happens now here, because traffic was not possible at all. There were no more cars could come down and not going up, and it was a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, because that was the one when it exploded. Mm-hmm. But before that, after parties were in the hundreds of people, or even 50, 75, and it was such a close-knit group of friends and music lovers. And if you were going to bring somebody or invite somebody, you always were thinking about, okay, are they going to kind of fit in? Are they going to enjoy what's going? Because it was, Cocoon nights were, a place where we could really enjoy ourselves and be free. And the after party was even one more step in that direction. Yeah. It was kind of our, kind of like a playground. And I think that was really important for us developing our DJing, our companies, our music. It was, we needed to have a place where we felt we could have as much fun as everybody else was on the dance floor. And that's what the Cocoon after parties were,
they were also very inspirational for many artists. Because we started playing some more weird house and trippy stuff, and I see Ricardo there, when he also started to produce more in that direction, and so it was. We still do good after hours. It's still happening, but it is today. It's a different thing. We cannot go spontaneous like a guerrilla action. Let's go damn party. No, we have to have permission and find the right place and ask the villa owner and then the police. So we have to get a lot of people involved. So that is missing. There's even after parties today. What I heard from VIPs who paying DJs to play at the after hour. What a joke.
Preparing, or what a Cocoon night for me is, it's the same. Since those early days, whether it was 500 people on the dance floor at Amnesia, because in the early days it wasn't packed, but whoever was there for great music, and you really, and from all over the world. So as a DJ, to be part of that and to give these people incredible vibrations and then send them all back to wherever they came from is as important now as it was then. That's the magic of the island. Like, you know, people are traveling and more, and people going to Berlin and here and there, but there's really no place on the planet where so many people come from so many different places to hear great techno music. When I'm playing at Cocoon or listening to Sven, or if you're on that dance floor, I think the Cocoon dance floor is always exciting. It's just, you're in the middle of it all.
We have a big followers, and they're lovely people, and they really come for the music. This is Rich.
This is Sven.
And you are watching
MixMag TV.